Are you looking for a home and looking for a way to give yourself a bit of an edge against the competition without causing yourself a lot of additional risk? I'm going to give you a tip right now today on exactly how to do it. Hey guys, Alex Brackey with the Valor Group. Today, I want to talk about a strategy that we were talking about with our preferred lender about how folks can actually give themselves a huge advantage in the offers they're putting in when this is going to be a competitive situation. Many times, you've got one shot at this, right? And so the first thing I want to share is when you're making offers and it's going to be competitive, your real estate agent should be able to have a little bit of insight into this, be able to reach out to the listing agent ahead of time and just say, hey, look, is this, do you guys have multiple offers already? When is the deadline to put an offer in? Guys, a lot of clients come to me and have this misconception that if there's going to be multiple offers, that this is somehow like an auction process. It doesn't work like that. You basically have a deadline that's given. The deadline is going to be Sunday evening. Everybody who wants to make an offer on this property has to have their offer in by Sunday evening, and it has to be the best offer they're willing to make. Why? Because we, the sellers, are going to be making our decision Sunday evening. So you come in and you give the best offer possible. Well, what that means is that you really got to use some strategy with this. So one of the big hangups that comes is if you don't have some gigantic money tree in your backyard. Number one, you're like me. Number two, you're like everybody else. But there are some folks out there that have figured out a way to hack this a little bit. And so if you're coming in and you're planning on putting, let's say, 20% down, you don't have to do 20%, but let's say that that's what you were going to do. This strategy works a little bit better if you do have some cash that you're bringing to the table as a down payment. One of the big concerns in a super competitive environment is, let's say the list price is $675,000. And we think that, your real estate agent runs the numbers and says, yeah, I think that's probably what the house may wind up appraising for. Again, most real estate agents are not licensed appraisers, but they can have a little bit of insight into what, they're going to be looking at the same data as the appraisers. And so they can come up with some estimate, right? If you think the estimate's going to be, call it $675,000. Let's say then you want to offer $700,000 because you know it's going to be competitive. So you're $25,000 more than what you think maybe appraisal could be. Here's where this can be a problem for folks, is that if you offer $700,000 and waive your appraisal contingency, in other words, I will move forward with whatever the appraiser says the house is worth, regardless of anything else. Oftentimes what that means is that the bank will be doing your valuation on a $675,000 valuation, but you've agreed to pay $700,000. And so what happens is you've still got your down payment you've got to make based on now the $675,000 appraised value, but you're going to have to bring $25,000 on top of it. So here's how this plays out. Let's say you're going to make a $700,000 offer and you're planning on bringing 20% to the table as a down payment. That's going to be $140,000. If this happens where the appraisal falls short by, let's call it $25,000 right now for easier math, instead of having a full 20% down payment, you're going to take $25,000 of that and you're going to pay the difference. And then your down payment is going to be the $140,000 minus $25,000, which is, if my math serves me right, $115,000 instead of $140,000. What that means is that, again, you're fine getting the house. The bank is going to give you the house. Seller sells you the house. Everything happens just as planned, with one exception, and that is you don't have 20% down unless you have cash somewhere else. If all you had was that 20%, you're going to take the 25 and cover the difference. And the remaining then, the $115,000 remaining, is going to be your down payment. It's going to be slightly less than 20%, which means the only downside to this is that you may have a private mortgage insurance as part of the monthly payment. But here's the thing. This is the thing that people forget sometimes, is that payment is determined based on how close to 20% down payment you are. So in this case, you're very close to 20% down payment. So your monthly payment only goes up a little bit with that mortgage insurance. And so really, when you're talking about a month-to-month comparison, what would it have been if you had a full 20% down? What was the monthly payment? versus what's the monthly payment now that you had to, give $25,000 to cover that appraisal gap. The difference in monthly payment is pretty minor. And so this is an easy way, if you have a little bit of cash to play with, that you can, potentially waive an appraisal contingency altogether if you want to be more aggressive, or do what's called an appraisal gap. In other words, hey, we're willing to pay up to $25,000 over the appraised value if we have to, right? In that scenario, not to exceed your $700,000 purchase price. And so that's an easy way to make it happen without necessarily affecting your monthly payment a whole lot. So guys, if you have questions about this gets complicated at times, never hesitate to reach out. Happy to walk you through this, and I hope it helps.